Hey guys, I was watching how it's made and I found out that these blocks are actually made from HDPE, high density polyethylene. So you know what that means. I bought this aluminum pot from my local big box store. And it's about 1 millimeter thick, and it's supposed to be used to cook stew or something like that, but this is aluminum and it's really too thin for any sort of culinary arts. But I'm not going to waste the whole pot. I think I came up with about 6 different projects I could use this pot to make. So make sure the edges are nice and smooth. Alright, so I'm just going to arrange these guys. So out of the packet of 100 pieces, there's only one orange piece. Must be a special piece. So it's coming together. I'm going to put it in the pan and see how it fits. That's not bad. I'm not really following any pattern, I'm just kind of going with it. No need to be too persnickety about how you arrange these things. It's almost impossible for the human to arrange something completely random, so just arrange something the way you like it. Okay? I'm also going to trim a couple of pieces to make sure that they fit in some of these corners. There's a couple other places I'm going to trim and fit pieces into. Okay, so this guy is pretty much set up. I'm going to go ahead and take this upstairs and throw it in the oven. I started at the lower end of the melting temperature, and these are starting to melt at about 275 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so I'll let this thing cool off overnight inside the mold. And I recommend letting it cool in the mold because if you take it out a little too early, it has a tendency to warp more than it would if you let it cool inside the mold. This thing is still warped a little bit, but the other side is the side that I want to use. And if you look carefully, if there's any texture on the bottom of your mold, you would have captured that onto your clock face. So these pieces that did not melt, I can only guess, even at 300 degrees Fahrenheit, is because their chemical composition is slightly different than these other pieces. They were getting soft, but they weren't melting. And I didn't want to wait, any longer. It was getting late in the night. So I think this is fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and chop all these little tab pieces, the extra pieces that came off, and the saw was able to cut the HDPE very easily, and I was able to plane it easily as well. For the backing of the clock, I'm using a piece of 1/4 inch birch plywood. I made this compass from a piece of scrap plywood. It has a screw on one end, and then the other end has a hole that holds a pen fairly tight. Now it's just a matter of cutting the circle out and cleaning up some of the edges with a file and sanding it down so that it's nice and smooth. So this Japanese style marking gauge has a little cutting knife right there. The thing with using masking tape, because I couldn't find painter's tape, is that they can't stay on there for too long. If it stays on the wood for too long, it has the tendency to stick and leave a residue. So everything's still kind of wet when I took it off. I decided to mount the clock face slightly off center. After sanding it, I put a little bit of linseed oil on and finished it with a couple of coats of shellac. Because the face is mounted off center, the entire support system is shifted accordingly, so that the holding fasteners will be hidden behind the HDPE faces. The clock mechanism was purchased online. It has an extra long brass shaft. This allows me to clamp everything together without adding extra blocks because the clock face is slightly curved. So the clock hands that came with the little mechanism kit, they're okay, but I think they're going to be a little bit small for the way I like them. So I went ahead and made new ones out of ebony here. So basically I cut up some thin strips, sanded it down, took off the corners, and then applied a finish onto it. And I think these are going to look a lot better. There you have it, guys. One finished clock. So, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoy the project, and see you next time.